unconquerable sovereign, take your throne and do great things if it please.
Oh man. It's been a hot minute since I've released a Dark Souls video. Okay, now, hi everyone, it's Connor, the Combo-sama, and yes, we are still in Broom Tower of the Iron King DLC. As you can see, things are moving at a pace that's not quite natural. The reason for this is, to be honest, there's a lot of pragmatism that goes into my playthrough of the Old Iron DLC. Not my favorite. I love its level design, but sweet mother of Jesus Christ, it's worse than the Capper Demon. Like, the enemy placements in this are incredibly fucky, and it's only there to really make things bad. Now, what's fun is, unlike the Sunken City DLC, the enemies do react to the basic, like, grunt ads that you deal with on this level. Thanks to my stone ring that does extra poise damage, they actually do react to my blows a lot better than the regular enemies of the Sunken City. Those guys gave no fucks about poise damage. These fellows, however, they do give a significant amount of fucks and seem to be more weak to fire damage than expected, as I'm currently running the Old Knight Ultra Greatsword and the Black Knight Greatsword and the Black Knight Ultra Greatsword. So that'll be what carries me through a lot of this DLC, along with, well, help from friendo units. I ultimately fast-forwarded this video because there's no way I can talk for 40 minutes just on the content that you will see in the DLC. This isn't Plague of Gripes or Vadi Vidya, where you can just sit down and scrutinize a box for 40 minutes. I don't have that background, or the time, or the patience. What I do have is the ability to go through and show you how I managed to do this shit. Such as the iframes right there that would have otherwise killed me. Because again, cornucopia of weird axe assholes swinging like all kinds of mad. Because look at that placement. Look at all those guys climbing all up into my booty. And then bam! Kablams! I died. That will happen a lot in the Old Iron King DLC. Luckily, there aren't that many bosses, and I still need to go back in the game. The main, like, side mechanic is there's no single great soul for the Shard of Manus, the evil queen portion of this particular DLC. It's actually multiple. And so at the beginning of the level, you get these smelter wedges that you use to more or less get fragments of her soul until you get all of the fragments. I have yet to do so in this playthrough. I have done it before when I was playing the game a bit more regularly, but I have not. What you're seeing is footage of me going back through after taking a long hiatus from this game, and I have to say, I'm not good at it. And that's just a blatantly obvious illusory wall. Like, the cutout on that. Wow, what a horrible bit that is. Anyway. But ultimately, I like the level design and the general aesthetics that come from playing the Old Iron DLC, but yeah, no, not the biggest fan. Like, again, when you first come to this area, it's snowy because of ash. It's not a true snow level, but it's the prelude to one. It's very vertical, and then you have a lot of gimmicks, such as these little hollows. These barrel hollows explode when approached by fire damage, as you can see from me chopping them with my Ultra Greatsword, because again, all Black Knight weapons have a charge of fire to them. Which is hilarious because again, you just swing those bad boys near a flaming barrel and everything go kablooey blooey. The other unique enemies are those possessed armor pieces that are kind of neat but kind of nah. And some of the different pieces of the fragment of Manus that's in this game does create annoying problems with the enemy variety, like giving them regenerating health or increasing their damage output, just basically buffing them entirely, and that can elongate otherwise ungainly amounts of gameplay. That's the one thing I don't like about this DLC, because aside from fighting Alon and the Broom Knight, you get a lot of time where you're stuck playing a little bit longer than you really should have. But again, that's Souls for you. Fucky placements will do that. It's kind of nice seeing how productive I look if I just fast forward everything. Shitty games done slow is not what I want to do here. Yeah, and those guys having that archery hand, that's kind of annoying. But ultimately, again, very nice to look at, kind of clean in that way, but it's a slog fest. It really is. Compared to the Sunken City, where I didn't spend nearly as much time, but I managed to get quite a bit more out of it as quickly as I did, it really does show the difficulty curve that comes with the DLC towers, because this suddenly turns into all sorts of fucky very quickly. In particular, this area right here. You may notice outside those bars that there's a few hollows. I think it's 3 or 4 of them. 2 of them have bows, and then there's that big molten lava man. Now, weird headless molten lava man is probably something that didn't need to happen, but he does exist. We are living in a world where that and anything that's been happening in the South recently does kind of exist in the same timeline that you and I do. And I regret that a significant amount. Also, I love their little crawling noises sped up if you listen to them. Oh, I'm already out of range. But yeah, go back and listen to that every now and again. It sounds kind of like villagers in Minecraft now. They're just going, I need 20 emeralds to give you bread. But I digress. He's annoying because, okay, wow, big, slow enemy with heavy hits. Never seen that in a From Software game before. Somewhat fast, even worse. Okay. But what makes it particularly awful, aside from them all being buffed by that little shard of dark Ibis sadness, is that when you go and look at this guy, he has a lingering hitbox that appears behind his blows that can be somewhat directed towards, well, whatever he's aiming at the time. If he does not properly hit me with his club, that spool of lava will actually hit you instead. So it's something that you'll encounter later in much more interesting and dynamic detail with fighting Slave Knight Gale at the end of Dark Souls 3's DLC. The only difference is, Gale is a fun fight, and those guys, they are not. Oh, that's right, it's Nadalia. That's the name of the queen, the very oddly placed queen here in the Old Iron Throne. Blah 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 blah. Multiple variants of Old Iron King DLC. Yeah, and that kind of shows you some of the cool stuff they did. Like, again, that Smelter Knight type doodad, that's just a homunculus animated piece of armor animated by heat. That's kind of nice. What I also don't like is the way spells work for these fucking casters right here. I sure wish I could cast big AoE effect lightning attacks. And as you can see, that's what happens when you panic. So I recommend not panicking. You will do a lot better that way. It's kind of weird because they double up as caster assassin types, and they all use lightning, which again isn't quite the element you expect from this level, but okay. I mean, lightning is a sort of advanced primal fire in the Dark Souls lore, so I suppose having a few casters that go and toss bolts at you instead of lightning is acceptable. But, just like that frame rate just now, I kind of went, I don't know if I want to do this. Yeah. But, luckily, the base enemies aren't as tedious to deal with as poison boys who give no fucks if they've ever been hit. However, there is, because of their weakness, I think, that's why they shower you in enemies. Because there's just so goddamn many of them. In such a small, confined space that also has various ledges for you to fall, just fall straight off the face of the earth. That's quarrelsome. Very much not liked here. Not in this establishment, mind. And then they also started adding the gimmicks of, well, here's these frosty fields of ash. But we're just gonna pop enemies in here at random and have their triggers be randomly placed. So when the game reads that you're there, they'll pop out in probably the worst spot humanly possible, and your butthole will feel it for, I don't know, probably a whole week. Not saying it's all bad, because again, visually, it's really nice seeing that a lot of different towers you can acquiesce. Well, I shouldn't acquiesce, you are not acquiring the towers. But for you to transverse in the game, those are fun. I do like that. It's a nice aesthetic of little man with big, cool weapons, edgelordy looking man in cloak and things like I have, just traversing a long, thick, iron chain, double the width of a human body, that is, for some reason, and not really well defined, connecting different towers full of bullshit like this, such as casters, explodey boys, walls covered in spikes so we don't roll towards it where it's obviously safe, and you have progression puzzles, because again, what I like about Souls games is while your death will reset your progress as far as your currency, when you do world progression, that does not reset. So you gain a benefit there. Ooh. I'll try and shut up this way when we see another barely boy, that you can hear them go. But I'm hoping to figure out when that will be. Oh, everyone blew up. Any more barely boys? Oh. I think they have a special assassination animation they have as well, but I don't think I really wanted to find out what that was. I do appreciate that it takes them 12 years to pop out one of those big AoE spells, so it's kind of nice that they take so long to do so. Yeah, that duration's just long enough for me to go, I probably should stab you if I have the stamina. And I believe my roll is as high as it should be for mid-maxing. I believe I made my, what was it, my evasion? No, that's not quite right. Oh, my adaptability. I believe my adaptability at this level of the game is somewhere in the 30s. I recommend leveling that as soon as you can, because that does give you extra iframes when you roll, and I'm very sad they decided to add that to a stat you had to level, instead of just making it an all-arounder, or making specific items instead that would boost that. But if ifs and nuts were candies and fucks, then everyone would be a lot more happy. Oh well. Yoink. But as you can see, a lot of levers, a lot of pulleys, a lot of stairs, a lot of ladders, a lot of bonfire, and a lot of fire. But let's praise the sun for a nice moment. Taking that landscape. And go back. Bam! And so we continue transversing. Now, what I do like, in particular, is this area that we get to access, because there's a unique enemy to this DLC that pops up here, and they're kind of frightening in all of the best ways. So you see oily boys, right? They don't care for magic damage, but when you light them on fire, they self-emulate. In particular, they gain an extra attack as well, where they'll run towards you and they'll try to kill themselves by blowing you up. They have their own unique animation, it's got a very specific sound cue unique to them, and when they self-emulate, it affects other enemies and objects near them. They're very strange, oily creatures. What's funny is they can cancel out of their explosion if they choose to. That's something for the AI to decide. And I found it very fascinating that they have that option to do so. Now at this moment I realized that we were going back to the torch mechanic for a light second, but that this one is slightly more abrasive, because as you can see there's oil on the ground that emulates as soon as you light it. And that will damage you as the player character if you were to walk into it. In fact, we have the quick sword Rachel here. 80% of my damage I do to Rachel isn't because I was trying to fight Rachel. It's because I was able to have the AI dumbly walk into the flames and stay there to evade my attacks. A lot of this was just me doing shitty PvP due to rust and not being able to parry her proper. But it also turned into her walking into the flames because my spells, which weren't doing jack shit, were pushing her into the fire, which was significantly doing shit to her health bar. See? That casual tick damage. It's very, very ideal. And then that made that fight very anticlimactic, and therefore, superior. Then there's Oily Lad coming back at it. That's why we pick big flamey swords, boys and girls, unless we're fighting Smelter 2. And I don't believe Smelter 2 is in the Old Iron King DLC. I think it's only in the Ivory King DLC. Also, sneaky spellcaster right there. Very sneaky. There's not too much in here, just one of those Souls rooms with big area, little rooms in it. You fight some dudes that are in them. Light them on fire if you can, makes the job a little bit quicker. I do like that because you had to light them on fire, it is your fault they kind of killed themselves, therefore they award you the souls for it too. A very oddly fun enemy if you are built that way. I imagine if you're not a fire build to some extent, fighting them has to suck. Like, I mean, even though I'm having a relatively okay time fighting them, it's likely a very dangerous gamble because, again, that explosion damage I don't think I ever actually take fully. I imagine it would kill me outright because a lot of things in this game, particularly with the scaling of the newer levels, really, really hurt a lot. A lot. A lot. A lot. So I recommend being careful. A lot. A lot. A lot. Like, look at these guys. Now they've all emulated, I'm pretty sure. Yep, they are all on fire. And yeah, you want to step back and just lure them out. Do some verticals. Let them explode. Go in. Check. Stab, walk away, they explode. And as the explosions wear down the others, it slowly whittles their numbers down, bit by bit. Just know that when you do get close to them, they do hurt you as well. Because they are on fire, and their fire properties are significant. So aside from exploding and hurting other things, they will hurt you if you stay in close proximity as well. As it is deemed, well, most likely, fire is hot, and therefore bad. So we have to combat that in the most primal way possible. Just remember that as this lift comes down, that there are two more oily, gooey boys. Again, let them be consumed by flame as Gwen once was, and continue on. Oh, it was just the one. Never mind. I thought there was more. That's okay. Yeah, I might end up fast-forwarding a lot of the footage of the Old Iron King DLC, aside from the boss fights that are successful, because those should probably be kept at regular pace. But I think I like this pace a bit more. It seems to be adequate for the services of the DLC, because again, they're fascinating concept art. Their level design, to some extent, is pretty fun. I've always liked the level design of Dark Souls 2. Because of how non-traditional it can feel from time to time, despite my favorite thing that always happens in a Souls game, is you come up to a door that's right in front of you and it goes, door cannot be opened from this side. And so you have to have long, convoluted way to shortcut for rest to boss rush. But then you get this moment, where you open up the furnace and you see those old iron knights from Hyde's Tower being used as statuette types, showing you a new vertical transversal option with these counter pulleys. That's fun, that's engaging. And then you realize there's a bottom and there's a top. So first thing I did is I descended to the bottom because I was fairly certain this was the way to get to the Broom Knight, which is the more or less the Gwen type enemy of this game. He will appear, and he is someone to be feared. At least since they've rebalanced him. I remember him not being a terrible fight when I fought him the first time, when I was a Obermage mage. But sadly, it would appear that my more balanced and more traditional playing character here actually has to worry about him a bit more. I'm not sure why this is so, but I think it's because they made his AI a bit more formidable. Yeah, I think that was a late stage Scholar of the First Sin addition that was made to make him a bit more of a tricky fight. Which, again, good. Bosses should be a challenge, so, hey, more power to them. Very good! I really like that sped up, because normally it's very good. But now it's very good! Yeah! Like a Street Fighter 2 or a Street Fighter Alpha, like, sprite character sound. It's very pleasing to the ear. Clobbering. But, yeah, that's just a quick run-through of the first leg of the old Iron King DLC. I hope you enjoy this. Does this formatting work? I think it does. I might do more. Let me know what you think as you watch this, anyone who decides to do that. Yeah, thanks. Okay, bye.